As we grow older, every bite we take begins to matter more than it ever did before. Not just for taste, not just for comfort, but for survival. You see, after 60, the body doesn't just change, it becomes more sensitive, more reactive, and sometimes even betrayed by what it once tolerated with ease. But there's a silent villain hiding in plain sight, and it's not the sugar bowl or the salt shaker. It's the processed food sitting on your shelf, the quick meal in your freezer, the box convenience you've trusted for years. And today, we're going to reveal what those innocent-looking packages are doing to your body, your memory, and even your future. So settle in. This journey may change the way you see your plate forever. Let's start with a simple question. What is processed food? Processed food isn't just fast food or frozen dinners. It's anything altered from its original state to extend shelf life, improve taste, or make it cheaper to produce. That sliced white bread on your counter? Processed. That canned soup with 20 ingredients? Processed. Even that breakfast cereal you've eaten for decades, likely ultra-processed. Now, processing in itself isn't always bad. Freezing vegetables or pasteurizing milk are helpful. But it's the ultra-processed foods, the ones loaded with additives, chemicals, and artificial flavoring that pose the biggest danger. And the older we get, the more dangerous they become. Your body in your 60s and beyond is not the same body you had at 30. Your metabolism has slowed. Your digestive enzymes are reduced. Your organs like your liver and kidneys are working harder just to keep up. Processed foods, which often contain artificial preservatives, trans fats, and excess sodium, are like adding weight to a ship that's already riding low in the water. The result? Increased risk of high blood pressure, digestive issues, and an overall feeling of fatigue, brain fog, and discomfort symptoms that often get blamed on just getting old. But they're not age, they're warning signs, and many start with the food we trust most. There's something especially cruel about how processed food affects the brain. It's not just about memory loss or confusion, it's about slowly dimming the light of who you are. Studies now show that diets high in ultra-processed foods increase the risk of cognitive decline. One long-term study even found that people over 60 who consumed more processed foods had a significantly faster rate of memory deterioration. Why? Because your brain thrives on nutrients, not chemicals. It needs healthy fats, antioxidants, and real vitamins to maintain sharpness. But processed foods? They offer empty calories and often steal more than they give. Let's name the culprits. Trans fats, often labeled as partially hydrogenated oils, are linked to heart disease and memory loss. High fructose corn syrup spikes blood sugar and increases insulin resistance. Sodium nitrate, found in processed meats, it's been linked to cancer and blood pressure spikes. Artificial sweeteners, some studies connect them to disrupted gut bacteria and increased sugar cravings. These aren't spices from your grandmother's kitchen. They're chemicals designed in labs. And yet, they live in foods marketed directly to seniors. Low-fat, sugar-free, heart-healthy options. The truth? Many of these labels are just disguises. One of the greatest enemies of graceful aging is chronic inflammation, and processed foods are a direct contributor. Your joints aching, your hands stiff in the morning? That might not just be arthritis, it could be inflammation fueled by your diet. Inflammation doesn't just cause pain. It damages cells. It accelerates aging. And it increases the risk of everything from Alzheimer's to cancer. When you eat processed food, you're feeding that fire. When you eat whole, natural food, you're putting it out. Margaret was 72 when she decided to cut out processed food. At first, she thought it would be impossible. Her pantry was full of boxes. Her freezer filled with pre-made meals. But after just 3 weeks of switching to home-cooked meals made with real ingredients, something changed. She slept better. Her knees hurt less. She even felt happier, something she hadn't noticed was missing. And then there's Robert, 68, who struggled with brain fog and forgetfulness. His doctor found no signs of dementia, but his diet, loaded with deli meats, microwave dinners, and soda. Within 2 months of a cleaner diet, his mind felt clear for the first time in years. These stories aren't miracles. They're what happens when the body finally gets what it's been craving. You don't need to overhaul your life in one day. Just start with awareness. Read labels. If you don't recognize an ingredient, ask yourself, would I cook with this in my own kitchen? Replace one processed item a day with something real. A handful of nuts instead of chips. Fresh vegetables instead of canned with preservatives. Oatmeal made from scratch instead of sugar-laden cereal. Every small change becomes a brick in the foundation of a healthier future. They say aging is about loss. But what if it's about rediscovery? About finding truth in simplicity, about choosing quality over convenience, about honoring the body that has carried you through decades. Processed food promises ease, but real food promises life. And at this stage, life is too precious to gamble with. So tonight, when you open your pantry or peek into your freezer, ask yourself, is this nourishing me? Or is it slowly taking more than it gives? Your health is a treasure. And you, dear listener, are worth protecting. Every meal, every moment. You deserve the best. If this message touched you, share it with someone you love. Let's make wiser choices together. There's a hidden story behind the food we eat, one most people never hear. Not because it's buried, but because it's normal. Normal to microwave dinner without asking what's inside. Normal to trust the marketing on the box. Normal to think that, after a certain age, our bodies just break down. But what if normal is the problem? Let's go back to the basics, to the dinner table of the past. A pot simmering on the stove. Vegetables pulled from the garden. Bread made by hand, not machine. Meals slow, warm, and full of meaning. Today, food has lost its soul. In its place, speed, convenience, bright packaging that hides dark truths. Do you remember when you could pronounce every ingredient in your meal? Now look at the back of a frozen dinner. Disodium inosinate, sodium benzoate, carrageenan. Do these sound like nourishment? They're not food, they're formulas. And the human body, especially one over 60, was never meant to digest formulas. Our digestive system weakens with age. Stomach acid levels drop. Enzymes decline. Our ability to absorb nutrients fades. So when we eat processed foods, we're not just filling our stomachs, we're starving our cells. It's no surprise then that more and more seniors are diagnosed with nutritional deficiencies despite eating enough. Vitamin B12, iron, magnesium, omega-3s. All essential for energy, memory, and mood. Yet missing from many of the processed meals marketed to older adults. Here's the twist. You could be eating 3 meals a day and still be undernourished. And worse, you might not notice until it's too late. The decline is subtle. You wake up groggy. You forget small things. You feel weaker, shorter of breath, more anxious. And you say, that's just aging. But it's not always age. Sometimes, it's food silently stealing your vitality. So what's the answer? It's not complicated. It's not expensive. It's not extreme. The answer is real food. A ripe tomato still warm from the sun. Beans simmered with herbs. Eggs from a nearby farm. A piece of fish grilled with lemon and love. Food that doesn't come with instructions or a barcode. Food that feeds your body and your story. Because every elder carries a story. And the food we eat either keeps the story alive or slowly erases the pages. Let's talk about memory. One of the most common fears after 60 is memory loss. And with good reason. Alzheimer's and dementia are rising at alarming rates. But what's less talked about is the role of nutrition in brain health. Did you know your brain is nearly 60% fat? It craves omega-3s, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory compounds. It does not crave corn syrup, chemical preservatives, or refined flour. So if you want to protect your mind, not just your heart, start with what's on your fork. Researchers now believe that food is not just fuel. It's medicine. It's therapy. It's the first line of defense. In fact, studies have shown that seniors who adopt a Mediterranean-style diet rich in vegetables, olive oil, fish, and whole grains can reduce their risk of cognitive decline by up to 35%. That's not magic. That's what happens when you feed the brain what it was made for. Let me tell you about Claire. At 75, she struggled with forgetfulness, mood swings, and confusion. Her family worried it was early Alzheimer's. But her doctor, wise enough to look beyond prescriptions, asked a simple question: what are you eating? Claire's diet was like many others: toaster pastries for breakfast, canned soup for lunch, microwave dinners at night. The doctor suggested a radical idea: cook from scratch as often as possible. Focus on whole foods. Eliminate boxes, bags, and artificial sweeteners. Claire was hesitant, but she tried. 3 months later, she felt different. Clearer, lighter, more herself. Her family noticed. So did she. It wasn't a miracle. It was a return. A return to food that loved her back. There's a phrase older generations used to live by: you are what you eat. But now, it seems we've forgotten. We eat food made by machines, in factories, designed by chemists. Not farmers, not grandmothers, not people who care about what a meal does to a soul. And that shift from hands to hardware has quietly changed the rhythm of our lives. Let's look at the rhythm of the body. Your body isn't just muscle and bone. It's a symphony. Your heart keeps time. Your gut keeps balance. Your brain conducts. And every bite you take is a note in the music. Processed food? It's noise. It disrupts the melody. It introduces chaos. Suddenly, your energy crashes. Your mood dips. Your sleep becomes restless. And then you say, well, I'm just getting older. But the truth? You're not broken. You've just been fed the wrong tune. When you return to simple, natural food, your body begins to remember. Memory sharpens. Sleep deepens. Pain softens. And not because of magic, but because balance is being restored. Let's talk about pain, something so many seniors live with every day. What if I told you that inflammation, the root of joint pain, heart disease, even depression, is directly linked to what you eat? And what fuels inflammation the most? Highly processed foods, refined sugar, trans fats, additives with names you can't pronounce. These aren't just bad foods, they're slow poisons. But here's the good news. Every meal is a chance to heal. Start your day with something that grew from the earth. End it with something that came from water or soil, not a machine. And in between, listen to your body. It's always speaking. We just stopped listening. Do you remember how meals used to bring people together? The sound of a pan sizzling. The scent of onions in butter. The laughter at the table. The pause after a bite when everyone knew it was good. That's not just nostalgia. That was nourishment, physical and emotional. We've traded that for television dinners and silence. But we can take it back. Not just for ourselves, but for the generations watching us. Because if we show our grandchildren that real food matters, they'll carry that legacy. Let's talk about something we don't talk enough about: dignity. In a world obsessed with youth, aging often feels like fading. But when you eat with intention, something shifts. You hold yourself differently. You move with more grace. You speak with more certainty. Because nourishment builds more than bones. It builds confidence. It restores dignity. You begin to feel like yourself again, the version that lived fully, laughed often, and stood tall. So ask yourself, are you feeding your fears or your future? Because every meal is a vote. For your health, for your clarity, for your joy. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be aware. And the first step? Open your pantry and take a hard look. What's real? What's fake? What's helping you? And what's holding you back? Change doesn't start with a new diet. It starts with a decision. The decision to love yourself enough to stop settling for less. The decision to reclaim your energy, to protect your brain, to soothe your joints, to live with clarity, not confusion. The food industry will not save you, but you can save yourself with a knife, a pan, and the wisdom of your years. Because you've seen enough to know what we put into our bodies becomes our life. And after 60, every bite matters more than ever. We often say it's too late to change, too late to feel better, too late to start over. But that's a lie time whispers when it thinks we're tired enough to believe it. The truth? You are not too late. You are just on time. Because real change, the kind that lasts, doesn't happen when we're young and impulsive. It happens when we're wise enough to mean it. Claire knew that. After changing her food, something unexpected happened. She didn't just feel better. She began remembering who she really was. The woman who used to dance in the kitchen, who told stories at dinner that made everyone laugh, who woke early, not out of obligation, but curiosity. She came back, and it wasn't because of a pill. It was because she stopped feeding her body like a burden and started feeding it like a gift. What if that could be you? Imagine waking up and your mind is clear. You don't need 5 cups of coffee. You remember your neighbor's name, your favorite song, the reason you walked into the room. Imagine walking without the weight in your knees, breathing without that tightness in your chest, sleeping through the night, waking up without regret. It's possible. It starts with choosing life over habit. Because food is not just survival, it's a message. You can say, I'm giving up, or you can say, I'm just getting started. The difference? A bowl of oatmeal over a donut, a handful of walnuts instead of chips, a walk to the farmer's market instead of the pharmacy. And as you begin to change, others will notice. Your grandchild will ask, why do you have so much energy now? Your friend will whisper, you look younger somehow. Your doctor will raise an eyebrow at your improved results. And inside, quietly, you'll smile. Because the change wasn't loud or dramatic. It was steady. It was sacred. You didn't just extend your life. You expanded it. Here's the final truth. Every senior deserves to feel alive, not just exist. To savor food, not fear it. To move freely, not painfully. To laugh, not just remember laughter. You've earned this chapter. Make it vibrant. Don't settle for being a statistic. Be a story worth telling. And the best stories, they don't end in decline. They rise again with wisdom, fire, and the quiet defiance of someone who refuses to disappear. So tonight, when you sit down to eat, ask yourself not, what do I feel like eating? But rather, what does my future deserve? Then feed it well. Because no matter your age, you still have a choice. And that choice is power.